Ooh, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the video, y'all. Today we're going to be rating every single base game track in MX Bikes, like all the stock ones you get in the beginning of the game. No mods. The only tracks that we won't be rating are the Holges tracks, the asphalt tracks, and the short tracks because, you know, who plays those in MX Bikes? No one. Anyway, enough talking. The first track on our list is no other than Aston. I think a lot of people can agree with me when I believe that Aston is one of the worst tracks in MX Bikes. From my point of view, it is. From others, it could be one of their favorites. I'm not a big sand track guy, but this track is just the epitome of everything I hate. It could be just because I'm bad at the game, but I just don't like this track. I think sand as a whole in MX Bikes is just a really bad idea. I mean, you're on virtual bikes, so it's kind of hard to kind of get your feel in and kind of get a good rhythm going. I feel like this track can be fun sometimes, but it's really just kind of a boring track in general as well. There's only like one big line of jumps that I actually enjoy, and every other thing is just some sand rollers and maybe a tabletop or two in the middle. But yeah, I feel like it's just a kind of a boring track for a sand track. I feel like it could be a lot more, at least more challenging, which I've already said I'm not very good at sand tracks, but I feel like it could be more challenging and a little bit more interesting, you know what I mean? Alright, moving on to number 10, we have Nevada 13. Now, Nevada 13 is a supercross track that, you know, Paboso made when the game released. There's lots of things that I dislike about this. This is actually a really controversial thing because I know a lot of people really like the Nevada supercross tracks, but me personally, I just don't really find the same love for them. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, every track after Aston, it's really hard to actually find a good placing for the track itself because I just love every other track above Aston because Aston is the worst track ever. Enough of Aston, though. Nevada 13, only reason I don't really, prefer it is just because it's really, really slippery and the track layout is just, not my forte, really. I mean, there's a lot of straightaways, which is kind of, mediocre. I like the rhythm sections and all of that. I think the layout is pretty good. Other than that, I think it has some pretty good lines on it, good whoop section. But the slipperiness of the track really makes everything about it kind of fall apart. Especially the the whole shot where it's located. You go straight into that one section. You go straight into the first straightaway, and especially if you're racing on a 450, because most of the public servers are on 450s. It is just slippery. It's hard to get traction, but it can be extremely fun sometimes because it's a challenging track, but it's also really easy. It's extremely strange how this track works. Both of the Nevada tracks are to blame for the slipperiness. I don't really know why they thought of making it slippery, but it's not a big deal because after a while you do get used to it. It does make you better at the game. But until then, you're kind of stuck, just kind of sliding all over the place, doing donuts and average Paboso physics. So that's right. It gets number 10. At our number 9 spot is no other than Practice Track. I feel like a lot of people can agree with me because this track is incredibly boring. I get that it is, it's kind of supposed to be like that. It's more of a flat track, practicing, hence the name. But it's kind of boring in my opinion. But it can be fun when you're on 450s. But if you're on 250 or 125, it can be pretty draining. Also, sorry for no audio. I was recording this with my friends, and the audio was recording, the call and everything. So if I were to play the audio, it would be quite vile, so just stand by. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't hate practice track at all by any means. I just feel like it's a boring track. I've said this like the last 3 tracks or last 2 tracks, but this track is just kind of, I mean, it's just kind of there. Like, you don't really hear your friends or yourself telling you, hey, let's go rip some practice track. Let's go put a couple laps on there. I mean, maybe some people may, disagree with that, but I mean, I just never really find myself playing this track alone, or even with friends, in that matter. Nothing much to it. Practice track is a good layout track. I mean, it can be fun sometimes, but I don't really find that taste in it, and it's just easy. But that puts it in its number 9 spot, and let's move on. At our number 9 spot, we have Nevada 18. And Nevada 18 is, in my opinion, much better than Nevada 13 because of one reason and one reason only, and that is because it doesn't have a big straightaway, which, most supercross tracks have at least 1 or 2 straightaways, but Nevada 13 felt like it had a lot more than 1 straightaway, or 3 straightaways, it felt like. But Nevada 18 focuses more on like the rhythmy, supercross side of things, which I really enjoy. Other than that, it is still an incredibly slippery track, and it is still a Poboso made track, which Poboso did a good job on both the supercross tracks. I just never really, enjoyed playing them for a long period of time without getting either bored of them or tired of them. So that's why Nevada 18 gets number 9 spot. Alrighty, moving on to number 8, we have Montua. Now, Montua, I think that's how you say it, is a extremely, well, it's a sand track, but it's also pretty hard on a 250 or a 125 in the matter. On 450s, it's not too bad, but I actually really like this track. I think this track's well balanced. I think it has good jumps. It's extremely fun to ride sometimes. But I just feel like it's just so much better than Assen. I mean, Assen was, in my opinion, an extremely boring, hard, and annoying track to ride on because it was just so flat and turny, and you turn every 5 seconds. Then again, this track is kind of like that, but this track is extremely balanced with jumps and turns, and I feel like it's extremely fun to ride on after a while. But yeah, nothing else to it really. That's why it gets number 8. At our number 6 spot, we have Winchester MX-On. Now, Winchester MX-On is a little brother or like a big brother to Winchester, because Winchester is like something, I don't know what MX-On stands for. I don't know if it's an event that happened, but either way, this track, in my opinion, is just not as good as its I guess older brother, which would be Winchester. I never really fell in love with the track too much. I mean, it is arguably a really fun track, and I like the layout a lot. I think the whole changing Winchester up a little bit instead of making it like a short track or something, and like changing it completely was pretty cool. I don't think any other track's really done this besides Nevada, of course, because after every year it changes, but that's pretty obvious. But this track's kind of special. But yeah, I just never really enjoyed Winchester MX-On too much, but it's definitely better than most tracks we've been over so far. So that's why it gets our number 6 spot. Alright, moving right along because intros are boring and I have no more ideas. Anyway, moving on to number 5, we have Winchester. Now, Winchester is, in my opinion, it's just better than Winchester MX-On. Winchester MX-On was trying to be, way more than it needed to be. It was like, its energy was at an all-time 10. And Winchester's at 5, which is, doable and nice. What I mean by that is Winchester MX-On had a bunch of, just jumps. Everywhere you went, there was jumps, which is actually kind of fun. I really enjoy that part of it. But I feel like Winchester does a good job of limiting that much amount because I love jumps, but I also don't like too many jumps. So Winchester's a good medium. Sorry, I'm having an aneurysm right now. Anyway, I feel like Winchester is a great track. I mean, the layout's pretty cool. It's pretty bland, but I mean, to Winchester, what are you gonna expect from it? I have a lot of good memories on this track. It was like the second track I ever played on.
and it's just a good track to play with your friends, man. I mean, the dirt is good. It's not a sand track. It has some pretty big jumps, one pretty big triple, and yeah, I just really like this track. Alrighty, at our number 4 spot we have Forest. Now this is more of a nostalgic kind of thing for me. I feel like a lot of people, I think almost everyone started out on Forest, and almost a good portion of people saw probably Lens or Trojan or someone like that playing this track first for the first time, or just any time, world records or not. This track is extremely popular in the MX Bikes history and just in general for everyone else's memory of the game. But this track is such a good beginner track in my opinion. I mean, it is extremely fun even now as a someone who's gotten a little bit better at MX Bikes. I wouldn't say I'm good at it by any means, but I've gotten better. But this track is just extremely fun. I've never had a bad memory of this track. Racing on this track was really fun too, even though it was pretty chaotic. The fences sometimes glitched you out, but other than that, the track was great. There was a good amount of jumps, and they were all pretty big, which were really fun. And yeah, some pretty cool transfers and other things you could hit. And I just really love this track. Alright, at our number 3 spot, we have the worst track in MX Bikes, Washington. Now, I did make a video. My last video was saying how Washington was the worst track in MX Bikes. This is the complete opposite, however. This is my top 3. And it's kind of funny, but anyway, as a matter of fact, I'm using the footage from that video in this clip right here. Like all the background footage right now is used from that video. Anyway, moving on. Washington is an extremely, I would say, balanced track. What I mean by that is it's hard, but it's also easy. There's stuff you can make it to where you can make it as hard as you want or as easy as you want, because you can take inside lines and outside lines, and you can. I mean, the hills really make it difficult sometimes, especially all the downhills as a new player, and all the uphills. It can kind of loop out sometimes, but this track's extremely fun to race on because usually there's always a server on it. I mean, you can look on the MXP servers right now, and you'll probably find one racing Washington, which is how it goes. But this track's really fun. I really like it. It's extremely funny too, especially with friends, because how Pobosto's physics work. They have like slow physics, so if you go slow, they kind of flop around, especially on a hill, it gets multiplied. But this track is extremely cool. I mean, it's just awesome. It's aesthetically cool. It's in the middle of an actual forest, just like Forest itself, the track. But I think it's awesome, dude. I think this is a really good recreation, and I actually love this track. Alrighty, here we go, Maryland, baby. Alright, Maryland, it's in second place, alright? I think some of y'all know what first place is, but I'm not going to spoil it. Maryland is an extremely good track. This is like the second track I've ever played on. I watched Lens play it thousands of times. I watched Reaper Dog play it thousands of times. I watched Trojan play it thousands of times. Every YouTuber that I know that has played MX Bikes has played Maryland and has done some type of challenge with it or something. I don't know what they've done with it, but it's extremely good track. I mean, the layout is awesome. I mean, yeah, it's matching Maryland, but whatever. It's such a fun, flowy track. I mean, there is a lot of tabletops. The lens transfer, which we call it the lens transfer. It's just where you kind of double into a corner down the hill. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, this track's phenomenal. I mean, it has some rollers. It has a little bit of everything. A lot of rollers usually, but usually you can send those rollers for the most part, unless they're into a corner, and then you'll fucking fly off the track. But other than that, it's an amazing track. I've never had like a bad memory of the track, even if my game crashed 1,000 times from it, I never would hate this track. This track did have some glitchy fences though, like I just said a second ago. The fences were a little bit buggy. If you went over the fence, you were pretty screwed. But this track's awesome. I love messing around this track. I love ripping the track, putting fast laps in, dude. Ooh, it was good. 450s, 250s, any bike, you name it, it can do this track, no problems. And it's just so good. And number 1, baby, we got Club. I think you'll know, Club is my favorite track. It was the first track I recorded a video on. Dude, I absolutely love Club so much. I used to not even play Club. I don't know why, but I used to just not play it very often. But when I started playing it, dude, it is so good. It is like a supercross track, a motocross track. And, dude, oh my goodness, it is so flowy. It has everything. It has some tabletops, I think. It has triples. It has sends. It has transfers. It has all of it. You can do whatever you want in this track, basically. This has everything that I love about every other track and put it in one. Being Supercross, Motocross, Big Sends, and whatchamacallit. This track's also very popular in the MXB server list. You can find a race on this track literally anywhere you look. This track's extremely popular, and I mean, I love this track so much, dude. This is my testing track. I get on this track when I get a new bike setup, or whatever. Even though it is pretty easy, it can be pretty bland sometimes. I absolutely love this track. I mean, you know, everything about it. Some of the straightaways, some of the just, you know, downhill kind of zigzag sections. I mean, there's so many racing lines you can take. You can triple into the whoop section if you're good enough, like Lenz. But this track is just so phenomenal. And this is by far my favorite track in MX Bikes. And yeah, there's not much else to it. I think this track's good. Great traction, great everything. Any bike, anywhere, anytime, I'll be on this track.
Alright guys, so thanks for watching the video guys. Bye.